On February 17th, 2021, Rush Limbaugh, a longtime conservative radio host, died of the terminal lung cancer he spent long and hard fighting against. My condolences go out to the cancer that had to live inside such a vile, hateful human being like Rush Limbaugh. I am glad this motherfucker is dead. He was nothing but a negative force in this world, and used his large platform, which happened to be the largest radio show in, American history, I think. The amount of damage this man has done to this country with his radio show is unfathomable. It can't even be put into fucking words. He was a big-time racist, sexist, homophobe, transphobe, the whole nine yards, and only emboldened an entire generation of bigots who thought just like him to be outspoken, to openly discriminate against these marginalized groups of people and make their lives a living fucking hell. He spent the better part of 30 or so years using his large platform to spread hate, trying to validate bigoted ideology. What, I'm supposed to feel sorry for this chode? I think he deserved a lot worse than cancer, to be honest, because he himself has been a cancer to this country for so goddamn long. And he is finally gone, but his impact will be felt for a very long time in this country because we have so many hateful, ignorant dipshits who listened to his show, listened to everything he said, took in everything he said as gospel. And this is why we had a president like Donald Trump for 4 fucking years, because his listeners, his base, were the exact people that voted such a vile man like Donald Trump into office in the first place. The continued discrimination of LGBTQ plus folk to this very day, the harassment and even murder of non-white people at the hands of the police. You can trace a lot of the reason why this country is still complacent with horrible things like this directly to people like Rush Limbaugh, because many people in this country listen to people like him, or listen to Rush Limbaugh, or just listen to people who are influenced by Rush Limbaugh, spewing out the most vile, hateful garbage to the ears of tens of millions of people, telling them that the system they live under is perfectly fine. There is no systemic racism. LGBTQ plus people are icky. You should not accept them. They're unnatural. They're pedophiles. Any other stupid thing you want to say about this group of people. Rush was one of the biggest cheerleaders for preserving the status quo that many of the marginalized people he would routinely discriminate against on his program suffer under, because he was a repulsive human being who had an irrational hatred for many people in this world. And just to hammer in how much of an awful piece of shit Rush was, I'm going to read a Twitter thread compiling a lot of the heinous shit he has said on his program throughout the years, and a bit of a content warning for the groups of people who may be watching this who Rush routinely targeted against on his program. A lot of what I'm about to read is going to contain vehement racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia. So again, if you're extra sensitive to these sorts of things, justifiably, I suggest clicking off the video now. But for those of you who are more comfortable with hearing these sorts of things, here we go. Remember when Rush called a woman raped by members of the Duke University lacrosse team a hoe? Remember in the 80s when Rush had a regular segment called the AIDS Update dedicated to mocking those who lost their lives to the disease? Remember when Rush said the only thing cruel about the death penalty is last-minute stays? Remember when homeless rights advocate Mitch Snyder committed suicide and Rush mocked him and played Clarence Frogman Henry's Ain't Got No Home? Remember when Rush called Mexican immigrants an invasive species? Remember when Rush said it was okay that 90 million Native Americans were systematically killed because they all have casinos? What's there to complain about? Remember when Rush said that marriage equality was a movement to normalize pedophilia? Remember when Rush said that the only reason feminism was established was to allow unattractive women access to the mainstream of society? Remember when Rush coined the term feminazi to describe anyone who supported women's equality? Remember when Rush said that watching an NFL game was like watching a game between Bloods and Crips without any weapons? Remember when Georgetown law student Sandra Fluke testified before the House about the impact of the new healthcare regulations on expanding contraception coverage, and Rush called her a slut? Remember when Rush worried that the rising number of LGBTQIA politicians would mean the GOP might try to welcome the T-slur community? Remember when Rush would regularly play and defend the song Barack the Magic Negro? Remember when in 1994, Rush Limbaugh called Chelsea Clinton a dog on air? Remember how she was 13 years old at the time? Remember when he told an African American who called into a show to take that bone out of your nose and call me back? Remember when Rush said smokers aren't killing anybody, and then he died of lung cancer? And that is just a small snippet of the so many heinous fucking things he has said on his program throughout the years. Now do you get it? Now do you understand why people like me are happy that this motherfucker is dead? I've seen so many liberals try to play civility politics and say, well, I'm principled. I didn't like Rush Limbaugh at all. I thought he was a pretty repulsive human being, but still, rest in peace, condolences to the family, and of course, I see conservatives shedding tears over this because, of course, they are. He was their guy after all, and he was basically the voice of modern day conservatism, practically. And you even see them crying about people like me cheering on the death of him and saying, well, so much for the tolerant left. See how intolerant they are? They're celebrating the death of a cancer victim. You were the very same people who celebrated the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And guess who else was celebrating the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg? That's right, Rush fucking Limbaugh. And you're also the very same people who celebrate the deaths of many non-white people who were killed at the hands of the police. So you people have absolutely no room to talk when it comes to disrespecting people who have passed away. It took me a long time to come to grips with this, but it is perfectly okay to be fine with the deaths of horrible people like Rush Limbaugh, who spent decades upon decades spreading hate throughout this country, indoctrinating people to believe in bigoted ideology, emboldening them to discriminate against marginalized groups of people. Like, again, why should I feel sorry that a piece of shit like this is gone from this world? And I've even seen some dumb fucks on social media try to argue, well, you wouldn't like if people celebrated the death of a family member you were close to. Rush had a family that he cared for, and vice versa. Cool. I'm perfectly aware of that. Doesn't lessen the harm that he has caused throughout the decades. His personal life means jack fucking shit to me. Same with the people who his words have repulsed throughout the years. And especially same with the people who were parts of the groups of people he routinely discriminated against on his show throughout the years. So please don't come at me with that. It would be pretty different if someone were to say, mock the death of my grandmother, who wasn't a public personality, didn't have a hateful bone in her body, she was loved by everyone who she has ever met, and also she wasn't a contributor to vehement bigotry in this country, so your analogy there is just plain dog shit. I would say that this world is a little bit brighter now that Rush Limbaugh is gone, but fact of the matter is, it's not. It's really not. There were so many people who were roped in to believe everything Rush Limbaugh said was true. There were so many people who were already hateful pieces of shit who tuned in to feel validated in their bigotry. There have been so many people who were directly inspired by Rush Limbaugh who will continue to spread his hateful message throughout this country. It's to the point where if this country has any shot of recovering from the damage he has done to it, it is going to take an extremely long time. So, with that, I am justified in saying, rest in piss, burn in hell, Rush Limbaugh. That's all I have to say. Bye-bye.